Hello and welcome to my vintage audiophile channel. This is now my 43rd video, and today I'm going to do something a little different from what I have been doing. Recently I got a little nostalgic and decided to dig out one of my old portable cassette radio players to listen to it with a pair of good headphones. And while I was listening to it, I thought to myself, I haven't really reviewed any portable stuff yet. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to review this is what I guess you could call a little bit of portable history, in that it's an Aiwa HS-P06 AM/FM cassette stereo made in 1984 by Aiwa. A lot of people, when they think of portable stereos like this, of course, Sony Walkman comes to mind. And while Sony Walkman did kind of overtake the market and proved to be hugely popular, Aiwa was actually the company that came out with the first portable player back in 1980. It wasn't until a couple of years later that Sony came out with their first one. Aiwa and Sony at the time were kind of owned loosely by the same consortium, and so they were competition, but they weren't competition because they were so closely linked. So when the technology came out from Aiwa, Sony stood by to see how well it was going to be received before they got into the fray and started producing their own. And the one thing that you will notice about Aiwa, especially throughout the 80s, was the fact that a lot of their cassette players like this were very, very well made and had tons of features on them that sometimes were only found in regular cassette decks that you see in the home. I'm not sure if they were exactly the very first one to do it, but as early as 1985 they started putting equalizers on their players also. I have a feeling they were probably pretty close to being the first ones out there to do that, but I'm not 100% sure. But that was always a welcome thing for me. I always like to boost things and cut things here, so that was something that I enjoyed. This one here, like I said, as with a lot of them, were very well made. Pretty much most of the casing of this unit were made with aluminum, albeit thin aluminum, but it was aluminum. And the accents that you see on it that are along the sides and here are all brushed aluminum. The only thing really on the case itself that's plastic is the front door. And you will see here that this is indeed an AM/FM thing, but this is not your standard AM/FM that most people are aware of. This one here is actually a cassette deck with an AM/FM card that you pull out. It looks like a cassette itself, with your tuning knob up here and your AM/FM selectors over here, and then these here are for making contact inside so that the radio plays when it's inserted. Since I last used this, it looks like maybe the belt inside the cassette player is probably dry rotted, and I'm going to need to open it up one of these days and put a new belt in, so the cassette player isn't working at the moment. But the radio itself works, and it works really good. It has a really good sound to it, and it is the analog era part of the cassette players. It wasn't until a few years later when they started making the built-in AM/FM with the digital tuning. Like I said, this one has a lot of different features on it that you don't normally see. It does have your DC input of 3 volts. A little light over here that turns red when it's playing to let you know it's operating. Your standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Over here you've got your radio or tape / power off button, and when you're using the tape deck you can also move this to the right when the cassette is playing, and it'll pause the cassette for you, and then when you want to get it off pause you just push it back again. And of course it's got its volume button. It does have a separate stop button, and of course this here is where the tuning button for the cassette thing comes through. On this side here you've got a play, a fast forward, and reverse, and where it says open here you take this and slide it down and that will open your cassette for you. It does have a selector switch for normal and chromium dioxide, and then a separate, if you push it up all the way, it's metal capacity. And it does have a Dolby B button on it that you can turn on and off. The back is pretty simple in design. It's just basically showing you here what these buttons are for, with the word stereo cassette player, and a belt clip that is removable. A lot of them that you see online these days that people are selling do not have that belt clip anymore. Either they took it off and lost it, or because it is plastic, it's a good possibility that it may have broken, became useless to them, and they took it off and threw it away. Whatever the case may be, there's not very many that you will see up on any site that sells this type of stuff have one of those belt clips. So I guess I can consider myself fortunate that I have it still. I guess you could almost say that makes this one a little bit rarer than a lot of others, because it is more complete. On this side here, doesn't have too much on it, just some of the legal mumbo jumbo saying what it is and all this kind of stuff, along with your AM, FM, and FM stereo selector switch, which is part of the cassette thing. And then down here, that's where you put your AA batteries in that you may have to power it up with AM, or excuse me, to power it up on battery. This one ended up getting corrosion inside, and so now it doesn't seem to want to play with batteries, but I do have the power adapter for this, so I can just plug it in and listen to it anytime I want to. And sometimes if I am out and about, or at work or something, I can always take a 3.5 millimeter on both ends adapter cord and plug it into the back of, let's say, a boombox or radio or something like that, where I can listen to it there, because there are a few things I have that are like iPod docks that are just speakers. They don't have a radio or anything built into it. I can bring this with me, plug that in, and listen to AM/FM radio on it, which adds just one more little feature that I didn't have before on the other stuff I have. It's really hard to demonstrate here how well it sounds, but I guarantee you that it does sound great. It's probably got one of the, out of all the portable things like this, it probably has one of the best sounding AM/FM tuners in it. I don't know what they did to get it like that, but it just sounds fantastic. and the cassette player is no slouch either. There are a couple YouTube videos of people showing off their same model and playing through a stereo through here with their cassette deck. And if you do watch those videos, you'll probably agree that it sounds just as good as a pretty much a home stereo cassette deck would sound like. They didn't compromise on anything with these players, and they built a good reputation with them, and they continued making portable players throughout the 90s. Once the late 90s came around and people were focusing more on MP3 players and stuff like that, the market dried up and they stopped producing portables like this and the newer iterations that they made. So sadly, they're no longer being made by them or pretty much anybody else, but they are a great way to listen to music on the go, especially if you got a belt clip. And I don't know if there's anything else I can say about this, except if you ever happen to come by one that's maybe not even this model, but something that says Aiwa on it that kind of looks the same way with brushed aluminum and all that stuff, and it's a reasonably big price, snap it up, because I guarantee you won't be disappointed, especially if it's being advertised as working properly, or if you happen to find it somewhere else like a antique shop or a thrift store or something, and you're able to test it out there and find out for yourself that everything's working. I guarantee it'll become your favorite portable, either that you, or of the ones you already have, or it might be your first entry level into the portable market, and you won't be disappointed with it. Like I say, there was a lot of brands back in the 80s for sure and 90s that made portable cassettes. Some of them were absolutely atrocious. Some of them, like this and Sony and a couple other brands, made stuff that was worth wanting to hear. This one is definitely one of them. Anyways, that's my review of this particular player. Now that I've been talking about it for the last 13 minutes almost, I think I'm going to go listen to it again after I'm done with this video. Looking forward to listening to some really nice music on the radio. And until next time, please subscribe to my video. Please like my video, or dislike it if you didn't like it. Just be honest. I will answer any questions or comments that are thrown my way. And until next time, when I produce my next video, have a great day, stay safe, and we'll catch you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.